Hello everybody and welcome to Bitcoin Predator. Busy weekend, right? I have never seen so many things happening in a weekend compared to the week. Previous week for Bitcoin was quite boring, if we can put it in these terms. But during the weekend, we had a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's first go here to the weekly chart. And Bitcoin still holding that level of above 100,000. I marked the 98,000 right here. There is a reason for that I'm going to explain later on. But as you can see, although this previous week that just closed was on a downtrend, it didn't break below the 98,000 level. Now, if we zoom into the daily time frame, we remember that the previous 60-day cycle low was on April 9. This was the lowest day during the 60-day cycle of this bull run. And according to the theory, we have a 60-day window with 10% plus or minus for the next 60-day cycle low. So we had the cycle high right here on May 23rd, and then we had a pullback that took place on June 5th and June 6th. So up until that moment, I thought this was the 60-day cycle low, but this got invalidated when we got the news that Iran and the US escalated the war a little bit. So then during the weekend, Bitcoin price went quite below that level, which you can consider that this was being held by 100,000 support level, and then it went quite below that, forming a new 60-day cycle low. So I think this is going to be the basis for the following cycles to come. And right now, as I'm looking at the chart right here, and you can see that the price is starting to go up again. I mean, right now it is on the 101,900, probably it's going to hit the 102K pretty soon. But nevertheless, I believe this is going to be our basis for the future 60-day cycle to come. So when you look at the market structure right here, we can say that we have a order block around this region right here, perhaps up to the 98,000, because we actually got the liquidity sweep yesterday. And right now, in order to confirm the bullish bias, we have to wait on the daily chart to cross the 106,400 level, which I think is going to happen pretty soon. This is just a pullback before the continuation of the bull run. On the 4-hour, this theory gets even more validated right here, because we had a fair value gap formed around the region of 98,600 and 97,400. I was even expecting the price to go as further as to the 96,900, maybe 96,000 level, but it didn't happen. It required much more volume to go to that particular order block to get more liquidity and continue its way up. But let's see how it's going to play out over the next days. So this is the current bias. This is the current swing high that we have to break on the 4-hour. Is going to be at the 102,300 level. After that, I'm waiting for a pullback, and then the price will continue its way up. On the 1-hour, I still see some order block being formed right here for a particular point of interest on the 99,600 level and 98,900. If you want to refine your entry, maybe you're going to get a quite short room on the 99,400, 98,900 again. But remember that this is not the lowest point. Right here, I still see a quite significant candle to the upside. So maybe around this range right here on the 98,800, 98,100, that will be another possible point of interest. And if you look at the RSI, that's pretty much what means when we say that the price is oversold, right? It hit the same level of April 8, right before this last stage of the particular bull run. So I still think there's still some room for the price to continue to go up. Also, like I mentioned on my previous video, I see that the Predator oscillator got a bump on the momentum line, and after that, I think the price will get its way up to continue to the upside and get to the range in which you're going to have the all-new all-time high event price discovery. And you see right here from the liquidation heat map, there was a lot of liquidity taken during the weekend because of the war. We went as further as the 98,200 with a lot of liquidity taking place in these regions, and right now we have a huge wall of liquidity forming on the upside. And I believe you know that big institutions, when they buy Bitcoin, they buy from existing wallets. They do not go to the exchange and purchase the Bitcoin. If they did that, you're going to see the price of Bitcoin spiking. However, that's the thing. Retail interest is going down, like I said in my previous video. And when institutions do not have any over-the-counter buyers, over-the-counter sellers for their Bitcoin, they're going to have to go to the institutions one time or another. And you can notice that this have been happening for a while already. They are just accumulating on this range right here before spiking. It means that there is no more wallets from retail in order to sell Bitcoin for them. And now their algos are already on the exchanges accumulating Bitcoin little by little, so they get the premium prices and then the price can spike. And yeah, I agree with Luca in here because that's why I think this cycle is different. Institutional participation is quite high compared to previous year. We don't know how this cycle is going to be different. We don't know the real impact on the price. It might just be a gradual increase, nothing parabolic. We are not so sure. But one thing I can tell you is that this time institutional participation is quite high. So yeah, I think also that this cycle is going to be different. In addition to that, we can even say that during the weekend, because of the war, the fear and greed index got as low as to the fear level, the 37, which is quite impressive. So this is when everybody, when they were thinking about buying Bitcoin, this is the perfect time to buy. I'm not so sure if it's going to get as further down as the extreme fear or even further down in the fear level. I think that's going to be pretty much what we have before continue its way up. If you remember my previous videos, I always say that I don't buy when the price is on neither the neutral or the greed or the extreme greed level. However, we are on the fear level, and that's the perfect time to buy. We must be greedy when everyone else is fearful. And although we had a war news during the weekend, I do not see a quite bad reaction from the markets. Actually, as you can see right here, the S&P 500 is just doing okay. I mean, really not a big of a deal. Everything is going just fine. So we have a quite interesting market outlook being positive, but still the fear and greed index on Bitcoin is on the fear level. I think this is just the perfect time to buy. Of course, this is just my personal opinion, not financial advice. And according to the market outlook, we also had a slight market open going to the upside for the dollar, which we can consider that investors are going back to the dollar as a safe asset. So everyone is trusting the dollar back again. In the meantime, we still see more adoption news coming up. Like this one, Coinbase just secured a MiCA license in Luxembourg, unlocking regular crypto assets to all 27 European Union states and 450 million users. So that's quite a big of adoption and quite of expansion for Coinbase, meaning more crypto for everyone. We also have Kraken relocating its US headquarters to Wyoming, embracing the state crypto-friendly regulations and low-tax environment. So you can see that crypto institutions, they are getting traction, not only for the government perspective, but also as incentivized by local authorities, which is good. Nevertheless, we still see the war between China and the US. I'm pretty sure that China did this. They just dumped a whole amount of US treasuries because of Iran war. I think they were trying to hit the US back, trying to make the yields go high and devaluate the dollar. And whenever they do that, the US is going to have to print more and more to pay its own debt. Now we also have Texas, who got their Bitcoin strategic reserve signing off. So more government adoption for the Bitcoin. However, we still see that more traditional big companies, they are still reluctant to Bitcoin, like Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. Which from their perspective, let's be honest, I mean, it makes sense. Those are well-established companies that have been in the market for many, many years. And Bitcoin, from their perspective, is something quite new. It is easier for a company like MicroStrategy or other newly created companies to adopt Bitcoin compared to older companies. But let's see how it's going to play out over the next years. And even if big companies are not still adopting Bitcoin, we see a lot of inflows from the ETFs to buy more and more Bitcoin. We had a short outflow here a couple of days ago. However, I think this is not a big of a deal. If you look at the overall scenario, we still have a lot of inflows. However, something that I see rumors around is that people still believe that we're going to get a interest rate cut before September. As you can see, the chances of keeping the rates as they are have been lowered to 83.5%, and the possibility of an interest rate cut has increased by 16%. And I'm pretty sure that the market is going to look for hints when the Fed Powell testifies tomorrow, and who knows, also on Wednesday. Being pretty honest, I have no idea what's coming, but I have the feeling that whatever is coming up, the markets are going to react on a positive way. Nevertheless, this is what I think for Bitcoin. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.